Are you ready to get casual? Grab your favorite adult beverage or combustible plant and join us for our roundtable TTRPG discussion. Oh yeah, it's time for Casual Friday. And now, here are your hosts.
Hey, how we doing? Welcome to Casual Friday. I'm Jim, that's Brad, that's Ryan. We are going to talk about what's going on in the tater pig industry, including Dungeons and Dragons and other things, and something very adjacent to the tater pig industry is the actual play industry. And also, I don't know if you guys noticed it, but just a couple days ago as of this recording was April 1st, which means, at least in the United States, April Fool's Day. I have some European friends who find the custom baffling.
I find it baffling.
Yeah, it can be baffling. But here's the thing, though. I'm an old, and so I've seen all the April Fool's jokes, and it's really, really hard to have a great April Fool's joke. It's hard to get people because most people are looking for, most people are looking for it. You know, they're savvy to these sorts of things now. And so this week, I believe that Dimension 20 actually unfurled a really great April Fool's joke. Here's what happened if you're not in the know. About a year ago, they, from circumstances as a spin-off thing from another show, released what they called Dimension 20 on a Bus, which was a 3-minute clip where Katie Maravich, who knows nothing about tabletop games, was the Dragon Master for a crew of professional dungeon masters, including Abria Iyengar, Brennan Lee Mulligan, Matt Mercer, and Jasmine Bular.
Mark Mercer.
Mark Mercer, thank you. And so it was a 3-minute clip, and there was a 10-minute extended thing, and it was basically just a Spinal Tap fake actual play. Essentially what it was. So then fast forward to April 1st, 2026. In the morning, sometime in the morning, they put up a teaser trailer on dropout.tv that said that they were releasing Dimension 20 on a Bus, Season 2. And it seemed like an April Fool's joke because it's almost all graphics. There's a quick shot of Katie at the very end, but it was like, this is fake. They didn't film anything. It's just graphics. Okay, you got us. Haha. People love Dimension 20 on a Bus, so haha, you got us. But then a little bit later, I was thinking about that shot of Katie Maravich at the end there, and I was like, is it just me or did her ears look different? Looked like a different shot. So I loaded back up Dropout, and between the time I first watched it and the time I went back to investigate my hunch, they had uploaded Dimension 20 on a Bus Season 2. So the April Fool's joke was that they made an April Fool's joke, and then they actually released the thing that they pretended to have made. And so, chef's kiss, I think that's brilliant.
That is clever.
And so the whole cast return: Jasmine, Matt/Mark, Brennan, and Abria. And have you guys watched it? Brad, Ryan, you guys made time to see it?
Bits and pieces.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say April Fool's Day used to be better. Before, I mean, comedy's hard. And there's a subset of the population that doesn't understand the difference between like being funny and being mean. So a lot of pranks are just mean, as the internet will bear out a lot of evidence. And the world is so goddamn stupid and absurd right now. That's to like twist expectations and be like, oh, isn't this crazy or dumb? It's just harder to pull off now because everything's already a joke. Haha, I said.
Well, the basic conceit of On a Bus, the first clip or season, and this new show or season is basically Katie Maravich has no idea what she's doing. She changes the rules at random and generally frustrates these people who do this for a living. Including in the second season, there's a moment where Brennan is actually saying something, and Katie just goes, "When is lunch?" And but there's one moment in the second I'm gonna call it the season because that's what they call it, but it's just an episode. There's one moment in there that I really, really loved, and that is So Katie is being a little chaos monkey and putting up different images on the dome back screen. And at one point, she puts up the IMDb page for Dimension 20 because Dimension 20 on a Bus is the highest rated episode of the show ever. And, you know, because it's just a joke, so everybody thumbs up it. And she puts that up there, and Brennan like gets flustered and mad. And he's like, okay. And then Matt says, sometimes a guest comes on your show and does the best work your show has ever seen. And then he looks at Brennan and he goes, and that's okay. Which I think was a reference to EXU Calamity, because I think it's pretty widely acknowledged, and maybe a lot of critters don't say it out loud, but when Brennan sat down in the chair, that was the best run of Critical Role of all time, and it's not even close. Those 4 episodes of EXU was like, that's it. That's peak actual play. It never will get any better than that. And I think maybe some people have given Matt a hard time for that, to say, you know, you built this freaking table. Somebody else came in and was better at it than you. How does that make you feel, Mark Mercer?
Well, in Matt's defense, it is much easier to run a 4 episodes anything than it is how many episodes did they have in a Critical Role season?
Yeah, and he had the benefit of a lot of existing characters and existing lore that he could tap into. Yeah, so, you know, it's not a fair fight, obviously, but
yeah.
I just thought it was really funny that Matt acknowledged it, and it made Brennan crazy flush and embarrassed when he said it. So I think Dimension 20 on a Bus is peak actual play. If you want to see if you want to see Jasmine Buller scream at the top of her lungs at another dungeon master for doing a bad job, then it's.
And she seems pretty chill.
And if you want to see Brennan be told to shut up live in an actual play, it's brilliant. I don't know. Do you guys have any other thoughts on this?
Well, just on that comment, like, if you're somebody who has some acting chops, right, and you are typically just a chill, nice, easygoing person, playing the villain or playing the heel can be really freaking fun. So, you know, so I could see why, like, it would be hilarious for her to, like, just come on and be an a-hole to all of them.
Yeah, I think that was part of the appeal of Calamity. That, at least for me, was that Brennan is such a happy-go-lucky, such a friendly, such a funny, such a great improv guy, and then in Calamity, he becomes some of the most despicable, most evil, most terrifying characters I've ever seen on screen before. And he can switch, like, from yucking it up, doing yes and jokes, to screaming at players, and watching players, you see the reaction on their faces of like, Brennan, how could you? Why are you being so scary, Brennan? Go back. I don't like that. Very intense.
Yeah. I mean, another example of that is like Jennifer Aniston in the first Horrible Bosses movie. An actor that's known for just being like the sweet girl next door type character in all their movies and TV shows, and then she comes in and like, this is just like this raunchy, terrible person.
Copy that. It's always fun to see actors play against type.
Yeah.
But we don't have a whole lot else to talk about that. We're not going to break down on a Bus season 2, but I think if you have a Dropout subscription, you absolutely should go watch it. And watch what's that new felt animation thing? Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. Oh man, that's good. It's not new. It's new on Dropout. It was actually came out about 10 years ago, but it's on Dropout now. It's called Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. It's like fake felt animation, like crafts. It's very good.
Like stop motion crafts.
It looks like stop motion, but it's a mix of stop motion and real. It's hard to describe. It's like weird 20 teens alt animation. But on a Bus season 2 for Dimension 20, I'm pretty sure you can also catch it on YouTube. But moving on to the next thing that we are going to talk about is we got a surprise drop of UA from the Dungeons and the Dragons people, Wizards of the Coast, yesterday.
Okay,
We got villainous options. Yeah, we don't know what this is for. We don't really know anything else about it other than this new UA contains 4 subclasses: the Pestilence Domain Cleric, the Circle of the Titan Druid, the Hell Knight Fighter, the Demonic Sorcery Sorcerer, and also 2 what they call paths. It's not capital P paths, I noticed that, so it's not a game mechanic, but it's very reminiscent of things that have been in Dungeons and Dragons before, like 4E was a big, what did they call them in 4E? Come on, what do they call them in 4E?
Paragon paths.
Paragon paths, yes, thank you. That's the word, paragon. That's what I was looking for. Well, we'll talk about those in a minute. But first up, to tease you a little bit, I said I liked 3 out of the 4 of these subclasses, and I didn't tell them which one I don't like. There's going to be descriptions of body horror and insects. So if you don't like the creepy crawlies,
Love a good trigger warning, content warning in the beginning of a UA. Yes, okay, cool. You have my attention.
I'm listening. Should have put it in a big red font so I would notice it for sure.
Go on.
Content warning, you sickos. The Pestilence Cleric fomented plague and rot. They blah blah blah. They clerics of the domain wield this with surgical precision, associated with gods of poison, disease, famine, and rot. Followers include apothecaries, doctors, poisoners, and royal tasters. Which the royal tasters tickled me, because if you're a poison cleric and you're a royal taster, you're probably not going to have a very long resume. I wrote a novella once about a royal food taster. It's called Kill the King, and you can get it on Amazon. Part of a collection. You can't buy it separately anymore. So with the Pestilence Cleric at level 3, you get the Inoculated Soul. You get resistance to necrotic and poison. Can't be infected by magical contagions, which is interesting for some potential AoE spells you could get at higher levels. Your damage resistance, your cleric spells ignore resistance to necrotic and poison, and when you cast a cleric spell that deals that, you can change the damage to the other type. And I like this. I do like that as a level 3 feature. I like that as you cast inflict wounds on this baddie and the DM's like, it doesn't do as much damage as you'd think. And you go, they're resistant to necrotic. So next turn I could do inflict wounds again and do poison damage this time and see if that's any different. So I like that low level puzzle solving here. This isn't overpowered.
No, but it allows for like some tactical choice in the game, right?
Exactly.
Like in the game I'm running for the kids at school, they one of the characters wanted a poison based wizard, right? So they picked, I forget what's the scribe wizard subclass, where you can change the damage type of and she changes everything to poison, which is cool thematically. That's what she wanted, but mechanically it really doesn't benefit her, because there's a lot of monsters that are resistant to poison. But like this being poison and necrotic, it's like that same kind of theme, but you have options that you can play with, right? I think that's good, good design.
So you get some poisony and necrotic-y kind of spells. Level 3 Plague Blessing. It's magic action. You can present your holy symbol and expend use of channel of any to manifest a 5-foot emanation of withering plague. And what this really does for you at level 3 is it gives enemies in the emanation a con save or 1 exhaustion level. When I first read that, I was like, what's the point of that, though? That's ability checks. You're going to start this emanation and give people disadvantage on persuasion checks. But then I realized, actually, this is brilliant for a grappler, because to break a grapple in 2024 is an ability check. So if you give your enemy level of exhaustion, they have disadvantage breaking the grapple. So I don't know. I thought that was pretty clever as for one use of a grappler, like a beefy cleric build. You start this emanation and then you go up and you grapple people and then sink your inflict wounds into them once they're grappled.
That could be cool. So like you're going for like a Solomon Grundy kind of character, like the from DC Comics. Yeah, like this big vengeful spirit that like has like this spiritual element to it.
I like that the next one procs if you hit the first one. So Virulent Burst does more if you have him exhausted, which is cool. There's not a lot of like, here is my combination in D&D.
Yeah, D&D needs more of that. Like we talked about that a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about Nimble, right? And how in Nimble that creates like some cool tactical choices. D&D needs more of that. D&D already has the conditions. Why not use them more?
This virulent burst, when it ends within 60 feet, versus 0 hit points, you can use a reaction to make them explode. I don't know what this came from, but this is a cantrip in Baldur's Gate 3, so that's very interesting.
I was gonna let it slide, but AM Rose is coming through in the clutch here. It's -2 to like everything, so it is attack rolls that you're dampening. On
Yeah,
a monster.
it doesn't do disadvantage on ability checks anymore, does it?
Is the newness. So it's attacks and saving throw. So it is exhaustion is better, I would say.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I was mixing up the rules.
I don't think that's your fault. I think that we should be talking about 6 instead of 5 point. It took us a year and a half for them to admit it's 5.5. It's confusing.
So your emanation spreads, level 17. We're not going to worry about that. None of that stuff matters. Nobody ever gets to level 17. Circle of the Titan Druid. Ryan, this is the one I did not like.
Whoa! Oh man! This is such a cool.
You can turn into Godzilla and Mothra.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's crazy. Yeah, so at first at low levels it's just another wild shape form you can get, and then I don't know, level 10 you can become huge. And then level 14 you become gargantuan. Are you kidding me? No way. This is way too OP. Not a second. I would never let this on my table.
Interesting.
You can just become huge or gargantuan.
Tactically,
I gotta-
on in a 5e 5.5 battle, what's significant about that?
I just feel like this could cause all kinds of problems for exploration. I feel like there's a lot of problems I wouldn't be able to foresee with exploration. And I mean, I don't know tactically, I can't exactly list out tactical scenarios, but it just feels wrong. Being able to become a huge creature at level 10, I don't like it.
It's a lot. I think if it's like the one cool thing you're doing, because the problem with almost all of this like subclass architecture is that this is all on top of like you're still also a druid. So not only are you Godzilla, but you can proc call lightning first. You know, like my answer to this thing's gargantuan, the player's gonna ruin the game is a 5-foot hallway. Like now what? You sucker, can't move. But it's weird. It's weird that they don't have enlarge reduce. And it is.
I guess.
Oh, no, it's clearly like this one's Godzilla or King Kong if you want it to be, and the best. This is a water one that can do ink. And this one's Mothra and it heals. And it's like, oh, cool. I get Mothra. Awesome.
So, I mean, the cool scenario for this is you're in a dungeon and there's a cave in, and now, there's a 10-foot chasm between where we are and where we need to go. I'll just Kokomo and become a giant guy and fall over the chasm. People run over me and then I crawl over it. That's cool. But the scenario I see this happening is getting into an argument with a player about, can I break this steel box if I get inside it and then transform into a huge creature? Like, I just see like just causing a lot of physics discussions with the shape changing. I don't know.
I mean, I could see that. Like, if you're trying to, like, especially like at third, well, do they get to be large at third level, or is it huge at third level?
Large at third.
It's
Okay.
huge at 10th.
Huge
Okay.
at 10.
Like, what level can you turn into an elephant as a druid? Because that's a huge creature.
I don't know.
So that would be a design question I would look at. Is like, if I can turn into a huge creature at level 10, what are my other huge creature options, and when can I turn into them? Right? Because if I can turn into an elephant, then that's kind of the same thing as far as like what you're saying, as far as like being huge, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
So
I just want to swallow bad guys. Why would you take that from me, Jim? This thing is swallow as a I hit you. It's an auto grapple if you fail, and then I can swallow you. Like, let me play Rampage. That's
All
my
right.
dream. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, I like what Ryan was saying about being able to like summon call lightning and then transform into the Leviathan, because you're basically a Kraken at that point, right? You got lightning coming down. You're this big water creature. You know, I mean, there's some cool thematics to this that I liked. Like mechanically, I don't know, but like I like the idea. I want to be Godzilla.
I will
So-
say it's a different game when Godzilla shows up. Like, it does feel like with all of these options, if this is like contained in some sort of the new Greyhawk thing, right? Like you could roll out that, not that it makes sense, but like, yeah, you can be a kaiju under these particular circumstances. But every player is going to show up and be like, "Oh, I found this on D&D Beyond. Can I do it in your bespoke homebrew world?" It's like, oh, I guess I'm a jerk if I say no, but like, yeah, this is now a physics problem and a lore problem and a game balance problem. It is strange. There's a reason that they got rid of the downsides. That's the problem too.
Mhm.
Like, if you are a Leviathan, you should have to be in water, or you have a 5-foot movement speed or something. Like, come on. It's like, now you're amphibious. Don't worry about it. It's fine. All the benefits, none of the downsides.
Yeah. Chat
Yeah.
saying you could be a CR4 elephant at level 12.
Yep. And then polymorph, unless you turn into a giant ape, which is your King Kong, and isn't that a level 5 spell?
Polymorph is 4th, I think.
Okay. So if you can turn into a giant
Nacho.
a giant ape that would be 7th level, right? You get 4th level spells at 7th level.
Yes.
So
And you could enlarge a giant ape, and then you get a super giant ape, and maybe that's more King Kong.
yes, gargantuan. Yep. So
Hit my chest. So moving on, the next subclass is the Hell Knight for the fighter, which is basically just a fire-themed evil fighter.
Which, let the record show, Jim likes better than the kaiju.
I like the low-level stuff in this one.
Fair.
So it's a little bit warlocky at low levels. You get Devil's Sight, Devil's Tongue, so you know Infernal. And then you can make your weapon a Hellfire weapon, so you can instead of the regular damage, you can do fire damage, which this is all right. It does start to get a little complicated when we add in the Infernal Wound die. The way they worded this confused me when it says you have 1 Infernal Wound die, which is a D6. I got fixated on that number 1 there. And I was like, when do you get 2? But the fact that you get 1 is inconsequential. So you could do extra fire damage. This is all fine. Or then once you get to higher levels, when you hit someone, you cause a wound to make caustic pus erupt from the wound. Ew. Each creature in the 5-foot emanation takes acid damage, pus damage, equal to your con modifier. So you can do a few different things by rupturing wounds, which is super gross, including one called gangrene. If you remember that content warning from 20 minutes ago, that still applies. Then you get more fire-based stuff at level 7. So, is this cooler than becoming a kaiju? No, Ryan, you're correct there. But I don't feel like this one is broken.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fair enough. I think the idea that if I hit you with a fire sword, I should do fire stuff. Okay, it's a fire sword from hell. I'll give you pestilence and acid, even though if I hit you with a fiery sword, I'm cauterizing the wound. But cool. Okay, where are you getting cold damage? If I roll a 6, you get cold damage? Like, how does that? No.
so hot it's cold.
Pick a lane. Come on. If you're gonna make a worse warlock, at least I don't know. Going through this makes me simultaneously feel like they should either do way more with damage types or get rid of them entirely. Because in that kaiju one, it's like you can pick almost any kind of damage you want to do because it doesn't matter. Some things are immune or resistant some of the time, but 90% of the time, I just don't need you to tell me what kind of damage it is because it doesn't change anything. So sure, your fire sword does cold damage because it's from hell. I don't know.
Oh, I mean, now if we're talking from hell, there is is it Levistus? One of the levels from hell is ice. There's 9 levels of hell.
For sure. I mean, yeah, you want to go like Dante, and it's like the furthest from the warmth of the radiance of what. You're like, yeah, sure. Hell can be cold, but if you're impacting, if you're using that power, your sword's not on fire. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, canonically in D&D, one of the 9 levels of hell is the frozen level, right? I'm pretty sure it's Levistus. And it's obviously taken from Dante's Inferno. One of the archdevils in the 9 levels of hell in D&D is frozen in a block of ice. But I think we need to get back to our actual plays and have Mike run a 10th level one shot for us. So 2 of us play this new druid. One of us plays a wizard with polymorph, and we're King Kong, Godzilla, and Mothra.
I love it, and I hope Mike's not in the audience because he doesn't know what he's in for.
So then at level 10, when you use your action surge, you can make a 10-foot emanation of fire, etc., etc. Then finally, the demonic sorcerer, summon the power of the abyss. It is a sorcerer with more, instead of draconic, more demon flavored stuff. At level 3, you get Abyssal Rupture, which this one, I feel like this is very overpowered at low levels, and then once you're at higher levels, it kind of evens out. You spend a sorcery point as part of a magic action or bonus action, so anytime you spend a sorcery point, you can unleash one of these effects. One creature you can see within 20 feet just takes 1d4 slashing damage, and if it's large or smaller, you can pull it 10 feet closer to you. No save. Or until the start of your next turn, attack rolls against you have disadvantage. That's pretty powerful. That, at 3rd level, you got 3 sorcery points, 2 sorcery points. So you just have to spend a sorcery point for your first 3 turns, and all attacks against you will have disadvantage. That's pretty crazy. You get some spells here. Then at level 6, when you use your innate sorcery, which is a 2024 thing, you reality warps in a 10-foot, so you get kind of a wild magic effect where you get 10-foot of sticky webs, caustic ooze, terrifying screams, enthralling spores, poisonous foliage, enervating bones. What was I thinking of? You get the spell slots. Was that the cleric? Where was the one that got wrathful? Oh, that's later. Never mind. I'm getting ahead of myself.
You think there's 4 things, but there are 6 things. Also,
yeah,
Phil has volunteered for tribute.
Nice.
Phil's going to be our kaiju master.
Kaiju masquerade with the legendary Phil Kearney. Heck yeah.
And AM Rosa 10 helped us out again. There's it's Levistus is the name of the demon prince. Stygia is the name of the level of hell that's frozen.
So there's no level 10. Oh, sorcerer goes from 6 to 14, huh?
I like a good wild magic. Like, magic should be weird, and especially if you're a sorcerer, right? Like, I don't like, and it's in the Pestilence Cleric as well. It's in the Hellfire Emanation thing from the fighter subclass. It's always creatures you choose within this range. And that used to be an extra special thing that only certain kind of wizards could do in AoE and not affect everybody. But, like, I don't know, if you shoot spider webs from hell and you're not even quite sure it's what's going to happen, I feel like curving it around your ally, again, I'll come with you pretty far as long as the narrative has internal logic to it. But I feel we pulled too many punches in 5.5.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking of like a cool character. Like when I look at these subclasses, I also try to think of, okay, how would I make a character? Like what kind of backstory would I give a character that is that's going to be this subclass? Like I think this would be cool for a drow, right? So you were raised in a society that worships Lolth, but you almost warlock-ish, worship a different demon and you're opposed to the Lolth, society, right? So like a drow who's angry at the worshippers of Lolth, and they make a deal with some other demon to get their greater magical ability to fight off the powers of Lolth. That could be a cool backstory for this subclass.
And we did kind of elide over the fact that, like, yeah, we don't know where this is going, but there's a villainous subclass UA, like, ooh, evil campaign. Like, what are we doing here? Like, I was excited just to see the headline. It's like, okay, because that's the thing DMs need. Like, that is a product that WotC needs to build, because a lot of people show up expecting to run the game for the first time, and this book assumes your friends and family are going to act like heroes, and in fact, in a world without consequences, they may very well decide to be total jerks, and there's a clash there. So having a set of tools where it's just like, yeah, you want to get weird with it, you want to be bad guys, you want to be, I don't know, a Death Knight or a Lich eventually, we got you. Like, I'm excited to see what this feels like. We're taking a big swing in the near future, and I like that.
Now, according to the roadmap, the next big thing coming out for the summer is Ravenloft Horrors Within, right? So I'm trying to think, is there enough time to get feedback on this and get that in that book? It doesn't seem like it, but that book seems like a good place for villainous subclasses, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. I kind of like automatically discounted it because it doesn't feel like enough time. Like, that book is like probably wrapped in a pallet somewhere. We're on a boat, and who knows if we get it in time, because the world's a joke. But yeah, but very unlikely. And I don't think we don't know what champions means, but like, unless it's champions of hell, like, maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
again, maybe this is. We know that there's some Greyhawk in the works. Is this part of that?
That could be interesting.
I don't know, but we got to move on. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is, in addition to those 4 subclasses, there are 2 paths of villainy: the path of the Death Knight and the path of the Lich. Each path presents a selection of feats. So the path of the Death Knight gives you a little D6. This is relatively new, I think, or they've been doing this on all 5.5 stuff. Give you a little table for your backstory here.
They're not doing it systematically, but you're seeing more stuff like that for monsters, for backgrounds. They're spattering in more roll table narrative-y things.
Yeah. We get a little box text here about some Death Knights, including Lord Soth, Olenthius, Saint Kargoth. And then it's a series of feats. And level 4, this is the one I was thinking of that was very powerful at low level and then evens out as you get higher level. The Death Knight Initiate, you increase strength or charisma by 1. And then you get death points. The dedication to the path of the Death Knight gives you access to profane powers. By your number of death points equal to your proficiency bonus, you regain all expended death points when you finish a long rest. So at level 4, when you take this feat, you have 2, and then at level 5, you have 3 death points. And you always have Wrathful Smite prepared. Spellcasting is your ability. You can cast it without expending a spell slot by expending 1 death point. And when you expend death points to cast Wrathful Smite, the target has disadvantage on Wisdom saving throws to avoid or end the spell's effect. That's very powerful. At level 5, that's 3 first level spell slots. And disadvantage. So it's like 3 first level spell slots plus heightened spell from the sorcerer. Right? Heightened is the one that gives people disadvantage. I don't remember. Yeah, so but then when you're level, at level 15, when your proficiency bonus is 5, it's 5 first level spell slots. So it's not as big a deal. That because doesn't allow you to upcast Wrathful Smite. Then Dread Authority, you have Command spell, and you can use death points to cast it. Harbinger of Doom, you have the Bane spell, use death points to cast it. Then we get up to level 8 stuff. All of these are half feats too. You get the fear spell. You can use death point to cast it, and also you deal 2d6 psychic damage. Unholy Steed at level 8 gives you Find Steed with you can cast with death points. Then at level 12, this one's kind of crazy. Your creature type becomes undead. Now that's interesting. You get Unholy Anatomy, resistance to necrotic damage. You don't gain exhaustion from not sleeping or eating. Then the Hellfire Orb is a magic action. You can spend 1 to 5 death points to throw an orb of pure hellfire at a point you can see with 120 feet, 20-foot radius sphere, 2d6 fire plus 2d10 necrotic per death point expended. So if you save up all 5 of your death points when you are level 15, you could throw a bomb that does 10d fire and 10d6 necrotic in a 40-foot, 20-foot sphere. But that's sneak into the enemy camp and blow them up while they're sleeping, kind of stuff. Do you guys want to? What are your thoughts on this path before we talk about the Lich?
This is dope. One, I really like that we're doing this sort of design. I mean, we've seen it before. Pathfinder's been doing it very well for a while now, but like this skill tree style unlock with an original feat and continue down a path, kind of like a subclass offering, dope. Everybody wants to play Death Knight. Oathbreaker is okay, but like very dungeon master dependent at the same time. Just like your dungeon master will create a mini game for you to make this make sense, and like that's not fair. So like having this built out, fantastic. I think it's really cool that you can also like be customizing it. It's not perfectly linear. Like you can pick and choose. Because I saw that Bane one, I was like, like that's not great. I don't know if I'd be using, even if it's upgraded to a D6, I don't know if I'd be using the Bane instead of a Smite. It's like, oh, I don't actually, it's not a linear progression where I have to take these all. Like I take the first one, I take middle 1 or 2, I take the last one, bingo bango, full on Death Knight, and it has progression to it as well. I don't like, and I didn't even realize it until I got to the Lich next. The Lich is wide open. This is clearly built for a paladin only because it's all charisma all the time. And I think either the Lich should be only wizards, or they could open this up so like it's more appealing for a fighter who is more relying on int, or because they're eldritch or whatever, or even like a rogue, like giving more options for this. Maybe you could break things if you're giving a fighter smite, but oh, Brad, you're on mute, man.
You're muted.
There you go. Canonically, there have been druid and I believe sorcerer liches in D&D. I know I'm almost positive that's in the Red Hand of Doom adventure, there is a druid that turned into a lich. And I believe somewhere in one of the, like, there's a sorcerer that turned into a lich. But yeah, typically liches are wizards, but there have been exceptions.
Well, maybe we should talk about the Lich then. So the other path is the path of the Lich. Level 4, the Lich Initiate, ability score increase, int, wisdom, or charisma, as Ryan was mentioning. But then you get a spirit jar, choose a tiny object of great significance, and you spend a long rest anchoring your soul into the object, and then you can only have one at a time, and then you can do stuff with it. Your spirit jar's armor class equals your spell save DC, number of hit points equal to your spellcasting ability modifier, plus your character level. That could be a strong jar. If your spirit jar is destroyed, you gain 2 exhaustion levels. Then when you reduce a humanoid enemy to 0 HP, you can consume its soul and gain a boost of arcane energy. Then on your next turn, the first creature you hit with an attack deals extra necrotic damage equal to D6 plus your spell casting ability modifier. Or you can do it if somebody else reduces a humanoid enemy within 10 feet of you to 0 hit points. So even if your ally dies, you suck up that soul and spend it as necrotic damage next turn. So good sword, true action, or wish. The next feat, Arcane Restoration. When you use the Soul Siphon, you can choose one or more expended spell slots to recover. The spell slots can have a combined level equal to no more than 4. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. So that feat gives you a free 4th level spell slot once per short rest. Transfer Life. When you use your Soul Siphon, you can choose a creature within 60 feet to gain temporary hit points. Undead Grasp, the chill. This one's kind of a lot. The Chill Touch cantrip, but then you can also spend spell slots to paralyze the target and add 1d10 necrotic damage per level of spell slot. That's interesting. I don't think I've seen this before, allowing you to enhance a cantrip by throwing spell slots into it. I kind of like that.
It is cool.
Yeah, and then they see if a con saving throw will be paralyzed. Then at level 12, you finally get to ascend. You get Undead and Unholy Anatomy, just like the Hell Knight. Frightening Gaze, you learn Fear. You can cast it, and if you die, you reform in 1d10 days with a new body. All your hit points. What do you guys think of the Path of the Leech?
I think it's cool. Ryan, do you have any mechanic specific comments before I go to more gameplay?
I mean, I think it's dope. I think what Jim was saying about highlighting the Chill Touch cantrip, operating differently for someone who's taken this feat, that's the kind of design I would like to see more of in feat and in subclasses. A lot of it's here's a spell list that you're not stuck with. You automatically have all of these, and if you use them, it'll be super thematic, but you also can use any of the other spells that are available to this class. Pestilence Cleric, give me a disease. Give me a cool disease that they release on the world that's unsuspecting. So that's my main mechanical design thing. Yes, please, more feat tree style subclasses and more particular to this subclass design, not just here's the spell.
Yeah, I like it overall, conceptually. The idea of using feats, because I've done this throughout playing D&D across different editions, where a player wants to become a lich, or a player wants to become an illithid, right? The player wants to be a vampire or a werewolf, whatever. So over the years, depending on different editions, I've created my own mechanics for that kind of stuff. Because you always have that player that wants to, be flirting with disaster, right? On the verge of becoming the big bad themselves. My favorite one was not too long ago, when running Shattered Obelisk. I had a player that wanted to become the Alhoon, right? The undead Mind Flayer. So they accepted a deal with the Mind Flayer to put the parasite in them. So they started to become a Mind Flayer. So they were learning about the hive mind, as the adventure progressed. But right before they became full-fledged Mind Flayer, their backup plan was to become a lich. So now they cut themselves off so they get all the Mind Flayer powers and then cut themselves off from the hive mind by turning into an undead, a lich. So they become the Alhoon. And that was a cool thread throughout the campaign, as the rest of the players did a really great job of role playing that they didn't know what was going on, but something was weird with Alex's character.
Any other thoughts on the Lich here? Path of the Lich
is good. I like more stuff like this, please.
Yes, I think that can really add to a campaign, right? Because in that Shattered Obelisk campaign, the players were fully expecting that they were eventually going to turn on Alex's character, and that he would actually be the big bad they were going to have to fight. And it basically came down to one dice roll. There's I did a skill challenge at the end to see if he was able to turn himself into the undead before he became full on Mind Flayer. And it came down to the last dice roll of the skill challenge. So it built up to a very exciting moment at the end of the campaign, as they were actively fighting the final boss Mind Flayers, whether or not Alex was going to change side and turn on everybody else.
Speaking of fighting final bosses, Dungeon Crawler Carl is becoming a TV series from Seth MacFarlane's Fuzzy Door production company, with Chris Yost as the showrunner, head writer. I'm not sure, at Peacock. And Dungeon Crawler Carl, I said this before, I read a little bit of it, liked it, didn't go back to it, can't remember why. But it is RPG adjacent because it is a lit RPG series. I hope that they keep stats and stuff like that in the TV show. They keep the spirit of that kind of stuff. But Ryan, why don't you tell us about this, since you are the Dungeon Crawler Carl expert on this show?
Yeah, from having like thought about reading it for a long time to consuming 7 books and starting over again in the last whatever. In 2026, I read and listened to all of them, and I'm going back through it. I did convince my wife, and she doesn't hate it. She hasn't stopped reading the first book, so that's something. I don't think she's just doing it to appease me, because she would have stopped by now. This is a dope piece of media that has caught fire because of grassroots support from a fan base, which you love to see. And it is instantly recognizable 8 to 9 pages into the book that you're like, oh, this is D&D. And then in page 12, 13, he mentions Dungeons and Dragons, he mentions Pathfinder, slap a coat of Douglas Adams on top of it, and you get this series. I am cautiously optimistic. I'm not saying that the Peacock show is going to be awesome, because it's live action, it's pretty ambitious. Seth MacFarlane is a funny dude. It's one brand of humor that's in there. There's other threads and whatever. He's an executive producer. I don't know as much about Chris Yost's work, other than that he was the guy for the first 2 Thors before Taika Waititi got it. So Marvel chops. I don't know. Not my favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. It's ambitious, and if it does well, this could be the closest thing to our next Stranger Things. I don't know that we're going to get another Stranger Things, but this could be, I don't know, somewhere between like the episode of Community or the episode of what's the nerdy science show that everyone tells me to watch all the time that's on at the gym? Crap. Sheldon. Big Bang Theory. A show that's popular on television does a D&D episode, and everyone's like, a lot of people who have never played D&D before are like, hey, maybe I should play D&D. And it kind of filters into the cultural zeitgeist. You get more people coming into the hobby, which ultimately is good for everybody, unless you're a reactionary. This is going to be a tier above that if this is a success. This is a show based on fantastic, funny, well-built characterizations and world building. It's got legs. Is it going to be wildly successful? Am I calling this the next Stranger Things, the next Game of Thrones? Like, maybe not. It's as hard to pull off. I would imagine a cartoon would have been easier, but there's a chance here that this could actually be something that we're talking about in a couple of years, as like someone walks into the game shop and says, never played D&D before, but I saw Dungeon Crawler Carl.
So if you were going to predict and put you guys on the spot, is this Dungeon Crawler Carl show going to be more on the impact level of Delicious in Dungeon, or more on the impact level of Game of Thrones, Stranger Things?
The first one.
Yeah, I would say the first one. I don't know that we get another. In the current media landscape, there aren't big shows anymore because everything is too diversified, right? Like Peacock is The Office, right? But like you couldn't make The Office today. And if you did, it would be a niche little show that like a bunch of people watched on Netflix. If this was 10, 15 years ago, yeah, maybe this was Stranger Things. But there are no more breakthrough, like, culturally defining things anymore because we're too spread out. We're too siloed these days.
That's a valid point. And I would say even the binge watching aspect of shows, right? Which is why we're seeing some shows like I'm watching Invincible and Daredevil right now, right? Where they're releasing one episode a week. But the whole binging of shows kind of killed the momentum that like Game of Thrones had, where like everybody was talking about that week's episode, at the water cooler, right? We've really gotten away from that, like where a show grabs the cultural zeitgeist and just holds on for, 3 or 4 years in a row. We just don't have that anymore.
Indeed, shows are too expensive and they take too long to produce now. But moving on, speaking of shows, the next thing we're going to talk about is I noticed that just recently they started uploading old episodes of the D&D cartoon to the Dungeons and Dragons YouTube, and they're uploading them. Looks like one a week. They were premiering. Oh, the premiere of episodes 8 to 9 is happening right now. Don't you tune away. But they're releasing them in chunks. Like there's one video's episodes 1 to 3, 4 and 5, 6 to 7, and 8 to 9. And I thought, did they finally kill the Fast Channel? And then so I looked it up, and you know what? The Fast Channel is still there, at least on Plex. I can't find it on Freevee anymore. I have no idea. I could never find it on Freevee. I had to just scroll till I found it. But you can actually search for stuff on Plex, because Plex isn't useless. But no, the Fast Channel is still there, and why are the tabletop journalists not talking about this? How come the Landlocked Warlocks are the only ones brave enough to keep talking about this Fast Channel? What's going on, WotC? They may have already actually addressed this, and I just missed it. But it's more fun to pretend that like I'm Woodward and Bernstein here.
And I think that might be a key factor of why, for a moment there, at least until I went to say it, the Landlocked Warlocks had more live viewers watching than the official Dungeons and Dragons channel. But I do think some of you actually left, because our number went down and that number went up, and I was like, oh, look at that.
Well, yeah, so I don't know what's going on with the Fast Channel. I have no idea. It's still there. It's still showing the content. I don't have a whole lot else to say about the cartoons other than, you watch them if you want for nostalgia value. They're problematic. There's a lot of rough stuff in there.
Yeah, there's some bullying and stuff like that.
A lot of bullying, a lot of very casual racism, casual sexism with the comments they make about the female members of the group. There's a lot of yeah.
But it was the 80s.
It makes me want sugared cereal. It makes me want like Frosted Flakes or like Count Chocula or something. That is deep in my lizard brain.
Well, and this sets up our next topic, by the way. I think Wizards of the Coast is actually trying to reappeal to us older gamers, right? Like they said when the interview at GaryCon with Luke Gygax, like they said that D&D has lost their way, right? That D&D wants to restore the relationship with the Gygax family, right? And now they're showing the old cartoon. I think they are actively trying to bring back the grognards. They're actively trying to repair that relationship with the older gamers that a lot of older gamers felt, dismissed and alienated by Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah. So the topic that Brad was referring to is the next thing we're going to talk about is a video of Mike Merles appearing on the Questing Beast. We talked about his first appearance 6 months, a year ago. I don't remember when Mike Merles just unveiled himself like a 16-year-old at a cotillion, like a coming out party. And remember where Mike Merles was all of a sudden everywhere?
The NBA was lifted. He was ready to.
That happened. Well, he came back on Questing Beast again, and there was quite a lot of little good nuggets of information shared in that video. And one thing that surprised me, I'll get the ball rolling. It surprised me that he was so effusive in his praise of current WotC, of 2026 WotC.
Mm-hmm.
He gave an example of a video that Bob Worldbuilder had done where Bob reached out and messaged Justice Armand and asked a question, and Justice Armand responded, and Bob included that in the video. And Mike was like, this is what they should be doing. They should be instant messaging or, Instagram DMing with creators to answer questions. And they should have that that feeling of being out in the public. So what do you guys think, or what do you think about that, or your other major takeaways from the video?
I think it was useful, his discussion of the money that gets made in the industry, and this idea that we need to sabotage or remove Wizards of the Coast from, being the big kid on the block in order to make way for better, more independent games and such. He clearly made the case that that's not true, that there are successful games out there, and with the benefits of crowdfunding, right, with BackerKit and Kickstarter, independent creators are able to build a brand to get themselves out there. And he made the case of Kelsey Dion with Shadow Dark, and how people are able to get their games out there, and that they are not dependent on Wizards of the Coast, either success or failure, right? And my opinion has always been, the more successful Wizards is, the more we get new players into the game, because the D&D brand is so big. And once we get new players in via D&D, then eventually a lot of those players are going to slip away to play other games, especially whenever there's an edition change. Like with every edition change, we've seen some sort of growth in the industry, right? The original OGL came with third edition, and we saw that original OGL just balloon all sorts of other games. And then with fourth edition, right, we saw a mass exodus of D&D and the growth of Paizo, right? And then with fifth edition, we saw a huge influx of people coming in, and then with 5.5 and the OGL debacle, we saw another exodus, right? So I think it's helpful for D&D to be the big kid on the block, because it gets people in the door. Like D&D is your gateway drug for TTRPGs. And then you're going to find your niche. You're going to find your sci-fi games, like Mothership, or your old school essentials, your OSR games, right? I think the health of Dungeons and Dragons proper is good for the TTRPG industry as a whole. And Mike kind of made a case for that, but also a case where the fact that we don't necessarily need them to be successful, right? We just need them there. Right? That was kind of my takeaway.
Yeah, and that was loaded at the back end of it, and I think 100% that idea that it is not a zero-sum game. The fact that there's this 5,000-pound gorilla in the room is not taking out space, is probably actually maybe breaking the ice. Everyone who's playing Mothership tomorrow night probably played years of D&D first, straight up, statistically speaking. The other thing that he kept hammering home in that back end of the conversation was who cares? Just make good stuff and you'll be okay. And you have to make a lot of good stuff. I think he was simultaneously grappling with the idea that it is impossible to make money in the TTRPG space. His idea of the fantasy heartbreaker is no longer true. At the same time, it's not easy. It's funny. The first half of the conversation is about how bad people are at intuitively grasping big numbers and the difference between 1 million and 50 million and 1 billion. And then he gives some examples which are totally wrong as he fact checks himself, because he too has a problem intuiting big numbers. Don't don't pretend that you intuitively understand how easy it is to make $100,000 or $1 million with a successful Kickstarter, or that is pure profit and money in your pocket if you do make $100,000. But yeah, the idea that going around and spending time attacking Wizards of the Coast and 5.5 is somehow going to help your game or the game you are championing in any way is a mistake. I would argue Pathfinder 2E would have a bigger player base if at a critical point in time there wasn't this push to try to bring players in by attacking the game that people were already playing and enjoying. That's not a good strategy for recruitment or a sales pitch. Still isn't. If I like a thing and you tell me my thing is stupid and yours is better, I am now defensive, no longer open to your pitch.
Yeah, I had that
Yep.
exact experience with Pathfinder because I bounced off of 4E, and my friends and I stopped playing D&D altogether. So I was and we all switched over to playing Warhammer 40K. We switched from RPGs to tabletop strategy stuff. That's what my gaming group did during the 4th edition era. So when I came back to D&D, like with the 5th edition playtest, and when I re-engaged with the online community, I was very put off by the Pathfinder crowd and them like just bashing 4th edition. And like, I didn't like 4th edition, but I was not impressed by hearing all these Paizo fans just talk shit on the internet. I was like, that doesn't make me want to play your game at all. So I just had no interest in playing Pathfinder because I thought their fans, at least the ones online, were obnoxious. And I met a couple in person and they were just as obnoxious. I'm like, definitely, I'm not playing this stupid Pathfinder game. Because all it took was like two people to be like, oh, you two are just like everybody online. Pathfinder must suck. And that was my reaction. And that's how I ended up following the 5th edition playtest and getting into 5th edition and got back into the TTRPG hobby. Right. But yeah, I had that exact experience that Ryan just described.
Yeah, there was one other thing he mentioned. He gave advice to creators to focus on building up a backlist, and that is 100% what you should be doing if you're a creator. Is you need a backlist. Don't make the one thing and count on that to be your ship coming in for the rest of your life. Harper Lee made one thing and she was all right, but she's the only person who can get away with that. And she wrote a second thing and it wasn't very good. So unless you're Harper Lee, you need more than one thing. You have to have a backlist. You have to make series and you have to make multiples and sequels and you have to have lots of stuff so that if you series transcribing all of this. Sorry.
The Kelsey Dion just did it right. Like you're going to have to work your ass off, but if you want to make money in this industry, the best thing you can do is follow her model, right? She published a bunch of adventures on her own site, Arcane Library, but also I think she also published them on DM's Guild as well.
For sure.
She got her stuff out there, and then she built an audience with a mailing list in Discord. So she curated her own audience as well as some YouTube videos, and then eventually did her Kickstarter and released her game, and the rest is history, right? Now, she also had a decent chunk of luck of like releasing her game right alongside the OGL, but that luck also came with a shit ton of work because of all that. But yeah, her model has worked. We've seen other people follow that model and be successful. Not as successful as her, but still successful, right?
She very smartly built up her platform and then used her platform to create things.
Yeah, I think you could call that model the overnight success
Right.
after a decade of work. Like that's the part that people like aren't ready for. If you're looking to get into the industry, like understand that like you're writing long tails, and if you don't know what that means, go figure out what that means, and then come chat. I'll help you. But it's not impossible, and it's not easy, and it's fun, and all of your time and energy focused on what you don't like and what's bad isn't helping you make cool stuff and isn't making you sound like a fun, cool person that other people want to spend time with.
Right. And one other point that came out of that interview with Mike is, he predicted that this interview with Questing Beast is not going to be as popular as his last one, because the last one they were really looking at like how Wizards screwed up, and of course Mike had insider knowledge because he was there when the OGL debacle happened. He was designer for WotC for a very long time, so he could clearly speak on how WotC really screwed up and alienated their fans, and that validated a lot of people's opinions. But now he's looking at what they're currently doing, and he's saying they're doing a much better job of reaching out to the fan base, of hiring designers who actually are familiar with the community, have been a part of the community, right? Like the new design team are all people who have done freelance work, YouTube content, DM's Guild content, right? Like if you go through the list of all the new design team, they're all people who are actively a part of our community, right? So they've hired people from who are like us and the folks in our chat, right? They've just been more successful than us, so now they're getting hired by Wizards, but they're still people who are plugged in and tuned into the community, and that I think is going to be essential to Wizards of the Coast being successful, as long as they let like James Hake and Justice Armand and Aaron Roberts and Taylor Navarro, they let these folks actually do what they've been doing and continue to do it well. Indeed. Now they're just doing it for Wizards. As long as the C-suite stays out of this design team's way, I think D&D is moving in a healthy direction.
Yeah. All right. And we need to move in a direction by moving on to the next thing we're going to talk about. And I'm just going to mention this lightning round. Hasbro says it was hacked. They only told us because they were legally obligated to. We don't know anything else about it. So that's all there is to say. But the last thing that we're going to talk about today is Traveler 5e. They're on backer kit. Is this over? No, there's still 42 days left, and they raised $431,000 as of this. And I'm not going to play this video, but in the video they basically described how if you like chocolate and you like peanut butter, now you can have both of them. If you want D&D in your Traveler and Traveler in your D&D. Traveler's been around. It's the original. That's what they said. The original sci-fi. It's been around since just a couple years after D&D, and it has had many editions. And they've also adapted it before. They made an edition for GURPS, and I read that there was a D20 edition of it, but I couldn't find out much more about that. But this is officially 5e, and the one thing I think is important to note here is that it does specifically say. It specifically says every thing that's in Traveler you can get there. Where did it say it? Matters.
While you're looking for that, I emailed them to find out. I didn't get a response, but I emailed them to find out what they're doing license-wise, because this is not by the same folks that do the current version of Traveler. Obviously, license-wise to use 5e, they're either using the OGL or the Creative Commons. But how I'm assuming the way they're able to use Traveler content is just the game is that old that no one holds the original license. I'm not sure how, because this is not the same company that makes the current version of Traveler. So I was just curious about that. But did you find what you're looking for, Jim?
No, there was somewhere it basically said, like every subsystem in Traveler has been adapted in some way for 5e. So if you like the Traveler experience, you'll get it just with 5e tailored mechanics.
Yeah, and that's cool, right? For the folks that just want to play 5th edition, they want to play what they're familiar with. They don't want to take time to learn a new system. The most important, most iconic part of Traveler, though, is the life path character creation. You guys are familiar with that, right?
Kinda.
So the life path character creation, in order to make your character, you roll on a bunch of random charts to basically create your backstory. And while you're doing that, that informs your character creation as well. So it was for the longest time, the running joke was it's the only game where you could die during character creation, because the original Traveler, that could actually happen.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was the fun part of Traveler. And I threw this on the list because Traveler is just very nostalgic for me. I had played D&D when I was like a kid. I had played D&D a couple of times, but not in my hometown. It was always when I was visiting family, right? So I couldn't keep playing D&D. So my mom took me to the library where they had a D&D club. And so she thought I'd be able to hang out at the library on a Saturday and learn how to play D&D with these guys. But when I got there, they weren't playing D&D, they were playing Traveler. So Traveler was the first game outside of D&D that I was exposed to. And then that life path character creation, that's all we did that day. Is they taught me how to play and we did the life path character creation. But I loved it and I was hooked. And I don't know why, because I was a kid, probably had like super short attention span. I never went back to play with those guys. But I did eventually find D&D folks to play with. But yeah, I mean, Traveler just, has a nostalgic place in my heart. And I think for a lot of us older gamers, that's the case. The Traveler has been an important part of the history of role-playing games. So having a 5e version, I think, is a cool way, if you're an older gamer who is familiar with Traveler, to be able to get your younger players who love 5e, into something that's not heroic fantasy. So I think it's a cool thing.
And yeah, it comes with the new Scion if you didn't have enough.
Another Scion.
Yet another Scion.
The Scion and the Mystic. And wasn't there another name for it too? Between all the different UA versions?
Then there's Coville's or MCDM's The Talent.
Yeah.
Ryan, you got any thoughts on this before we wrap things up here?
Not really. Traveler is cool. I don't think it's old enough to be public domain. So someone's got to have paid for the ability to use Traveler. 5e to me means, they're using the system reference document. They're not saying this is a D&D product. You can slap 5e on a cover for the rule set. But yeah, they had to have paid for the rights to make a Traveler game if it isn't the people who own Traveler right now. Yeah, I mean, people sleep on, I think because it's so integrated now, on this, like, how good the core engine of 5e is, and really like the D20 engine, right? But just like roll a D20, add something, big number, good. Yeah, skills and abilities and proficiency and but really that's just like add number, 2d20, big number, good, meet or beat target number. It's one of those like 99% invisible, elegant design things that you stop seeing it. So once you get someone to wrap their head around it, because it's like learning a different language, it's almost easier to be like, oh, okay, 5e. Now with spaceships. And again, if you're part of that camp that's trying to get someone to play a different game than Dungeons and Dragons 5e, 5.5, this is a great intermediate step to do it. Because one, sci-fi is a different genre. So you've already built in that gap, that separation. And now you can slowly introduce in more subsystems. And with this, you get it right in character creation too. It's like, wow, that was fun, huh? Your guy died, but yeah, you get to make another guy. That's cool, right? Like you need those intermediate steps to help someone come along.
Character creation represents several years of someone's life, right? That's like how you can die during it. Isn't that how it works?
Right. Yeah. The life path character creation. If you just wanted to play around with life path character creation just for the fun of it, because there's an online tool you can use for the Infinity role-playing game. Infinity is a sci-fi tabletop skirmish game, and they made an RPG of it. What's his name? The Dungeon Master Guru. What's the...
There's a lot of us. You'll have to be more specific.
Oh, gosh. I'm totally drawing a blank on his name. Who's the actor that plays George in Seinfeld?
Costanza.
George Costanza? Jason
Alexander.
Yeah,
Alexander.
It's the other J. Alexander.
Justin Alexander.
Justin Alexander.
From the Alexandrian?
Yes, the Alexandrian.
The British fellow.
I was trying
With
to
the
get
wonderful
From
there.
diction.
Seinfeld. Okay.
Yeah, I was trying
All
to get
right,
there.
all right,
That's how I got
all
to
right.
his name. That's how my
A
dyslexic
George
brain works.
Costanza type. I get it.
No, he has nothing to like. He's nothing like George Costanza at all. He's actually a great guy. I've met him in person. And we talked about this. We talked about he actually worked on the Infinity RPG. I think he was the lead designer on it, maybe. But my point is, in the Infinity RPG is a sci-fi game that has a life path character creation, and they've got an online version of it. You can just go on and play with it. And it's just kind of fun to play with a life path character creation model. That game was based on like third edition. It was based on the original OGL from third edition. So it's a very crunchy game. But it has the life path character creation, which is just fun to play around with. And since it's online, you don't have to like do the math yourself. You're just clicking buttons. Check it out. It's fun.
Nice. Well, I think we are about out of time. And so whether you enjoy Traveler or not, we hope you enjoyed this show. And we thank you for watching. We thank you for listening. And we love you. And you know what? Have yourself a safe and happy, healthy weekend. And we'll see you soon. Later. Go see Project Hail Mary if you haven't seen it.